Picture the scene, waiting for a train in San Francisco heading to LA. I got talking to a young family, mom, dad, and a couple of kids. Chatting away for 10 minutes or so, and the mom said to me, "I'm really trying to pinpoint your accent. Are you Australian?" "No, I'm British." "That's near Australia, though, right?" I don't know how to respond to her question.
Hello everyone, this will be our first video. I hope it goes well and that we receive comments and advice. On this channel, we will post some of the most ridiculous stories and moments. For now, we will tell them directly by writing and narrating. However, if there are good results, then we plan to animate the stories and make them more entertaining. Let's continue with the stories.
I used to work at a tool rental store. We got a letter from Visa telling us we could not accept unsigned cards, so we started checking. And sure enough, I got a guy that had an unsigned one. I told him I couldn't accept it unless he signed it, and he refused. He said, "I never sign any of my cards. If I do, it makes it easier for people to forge my signature." I pointed out to him that if they were unsigned, they would not have to forge it. They could just sign the card. He just didn't understand that. I pointed out that he had to sign his driver's license. No difference. Refused to sign the card, and I refused to rent to him. He had a whole wallet of unsigned cards. I have to say, working a job where I had to deal with the public seriously eroded my belief that people were intelligent.
I'm Scottish, and I had an American tell me how Scotland was oppressed by England, and it was like Israel and Palestine. At first, I thought it was a wind-up, and he was pulling my leg. Turns out he was being deadly serious. I was like, "Mate, I own a property in England. My partner is English." No matter what I said to him, he wouldn't believe me that we weren't constantly living under the oppression of England.
As an exchange student from Germany, high school, small town New York, I've been asked if we have cars in Germany. In that same conversation, they also questioned if we had fridges in Germany and if Hitler was still alive.
I visited the US back in 2001 for work in LA for a conference. I was sat in the lobby of the hotel I was staying at, talking to the receptionist. A young lady came up to me and asked where I was from. I said, "London," and she asked me, "Is that in France?" I swear to God the look the receptionist at the hotel gave me said in a look, "I'm so sorry, we are not all that fucking stupid."
Have a nice
I'm Italian, living in the US. I had this conversation more times than it's recommended, along these lines. Them, "I love your accent. Where are you from?" Me, "Italy." Them, "Oh wow, so you speak Spanish?" Me, "No, I speak Italian." Them, "Oh, but it's Italian-Spanish." A lot of them were baffled, knowing that Italian is its own language. A couple of them didn't believe me. I hated being a waiter.
Gus, I'm Canadian. I used to work for a call center that took calls from all over North America. I would have Americans call in all the time and ask if I was Canadian. I guess I have an accent. "How cold is it up there right now? It's like always snowy, right?" "It's pretty warm today. It's around 21 degrees. "Oh wow, that's freezing. How do y'all survive?" "Oh no. 21 degrees Celsius. Huh? 21 degrees Celsius, that's about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Uh-huh. So why not just say 70, speak American. I was also separately asked if we all lived in igloos.
In 2009, I was traveling across the U.S. with a group of 14 in a minibus, all from the UK and one Australian. On our way north, we stopped at a diner in Mississippi for lunch. We were giving our orders to the very southern lady at the counter, but when my Aussie friend asked for a cheeseburger, the lady just couldn't seem to get what she was saying. And to her, "Honey, I can't understand a word you're saying. Are you French?" She said, "No, I'm Australian." "Austrian?" was the confused reply. I eventually ordered for both of us in my clearest English and got a surprised, "Well, don't you speak English proper good?" Lady was also a massive racist, so fun lunch.
I was outside smoking a cigarette with a guy I know. It was winter, so all the leaves were down from the trees. The wind started kicking up, and he said, "I can't believe it's so windy out. There's not even any leaves on the trees." I paused for a second, pondering what I just heard, and I asked him, "Do you think the wind comes from trees?" He did. He was about 25 at the time.
11th grade English. I had a classmate named Spring. Book smarts, yes, but common sense was extremely lacking, the butt of many jokes. She was talking to another classmate who was telling her about a trip she was taking to Europe in the summer. The trip was to Ireland, Wales, and England. Spring was very excited for her. "Oh, you'll be able to use your French there?" That was 25 years ago, and it still perplexes me.
I'm an Australian who once rode a motorcycle from New Orleans to New York City. I stopped in a very small town in Tennessee. So small, I don't even remember what it was called. I pulled up in a bar and asked for a beer. Instantly, a whole group of locals turned and recoiled at my accent. They asked what part of America I was from. I said I wasn't, I was from Australia. They asked again, what part of America Australia was in. Sometimes you've got to pick your battles. So I just got drunk as fuck with them instead.
Working at a gas station in Michigan, a customer comes in and I ring her up and she says in a snotty tone, "Why is it so much?" I calmly replied, "Well, ma'am, this is this price and that is that price." She interrupts and says, "Well, you don't have to be so defensive about it." "Well, ma'am, you asked me a question and I'm answering it. Why are people in this town so fexing defensive?" She bellows out. I knew that mostly anything I said at that point would just add to her point. So I put a big smile on my face and said, "Have a nice day, ma'am." She was upset I wouldn't play her game, so she stormed out of the store in a huff, forgetting to pump her gas. Is that a castle? Gigantic Karen in shorts in Ireland pointing at a massive castle right in front of her. Complained to the manager that the castle should be clearly signposted as such. Damn, maybe Karen should carry a sign that says, "Stupid," next time she goes out.
I overheard some dumbass say she thought Europe was in Germany. Short but intense. Maybe she was referring to the dream of a famous Austrian painter.
I was walking down the boardwalk in Venice Beach at dusk with some people, and the girl next to me points up and says, "Wow, look, you can see the stars already, and the sun hasn't even set. That's so crazy." To which I responded, "Well, technically, the sun is also a star, so it's not too crazy if you think about it." She shoots me a condescending glare and says, "Oh, no! What are you talking about? The sun isn't a star because it doesn't come out at night." I didn't look at or respond to her. The rest of our group just stayed very silent for about 10 seconds and kept walking until someone changed the subject. We ditched her later on when she stopped to use the bathroom. Yo! I think Kepler is turning in his grave, like everyone else.
When I was in Las Vegas, a couple approached me. Them, "Hey, we love your accent. Where are you from?" Me, "Wales." Then, "Wales? Is that near Utah?" I wish I was joking. I wonder why, of all the US states, it's right next to Utah.
I had a friend who thought Asia was a country. Well, it's a pretty stupid thing to say, but unfortunately, I've heard worse.
My roommate answered the phone, and the person on the other end said, "You ready to go to Kentucky?" And he politely said, "You have the wrong number." Not 10 seconds later, the phone rings again, and the person says, "You ready to go to Kentucky?" Once again, he replies, "Wrong number." To which they say, "Well, I hit redial." I told him that if they call again just to say, "Yeah, we're ready," it was probably the best way to respond.
Met two separate Americans on different occasions that were traveling, moving to Canada, and were both confused why we have roads and are not in a permanent winter with igloos every few blocks. Crazier story, road tripping with my family when we noticed a family of American tourists stopped at the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, smearing peanut butter on their child's face. We stopped and asked if everything was okay, and they said, "Yeah, just taking a few photos." Little confused, we look up and see a Fukin bear half a block away. They wanted to have the bear lick peanut butter off their daughter's face. Bro, come on. Maybe they just wanted a photo with Yogi, or maybe they didn't want their children anymore.
About 40 years ago, I was visiting friends in Ontario. I live in Quebec. We were out for a walk after supper, and this car with plates from Tennessee stops us and asks us where he is. When we told him, he wouldn't believe us. He must have driven through one of the unchecked roads that cross the border. There are quite a few across the country. So he says, "How can I be in Canada?" It's a communist country. My buddy asked him what made him think that Canada was communist, to which he replied, "Well, it's pink on the map." None of us could contain our laughter. Here we are at Trumpian levels of stupidity.
In German. In the US, I got asked the expected, "Do you guys like Hitler?" But also, "Did you know Hitler built time machines?" Continue to explain it for 20 minutes. And, "Are you from East or West Germany?" Component placement. When I explained that we are not separated anymore since 30 years, he went, "Oh, but that's not that long ago." He was in his mid-20s. He had probably just discovered certain things and wanted to flex his knowledge.
I worked in a restaurant in Florida for a year and heard all kinds of dumb things. But these are my top. I told a coworker that my parents are from Colombia, and he replied, "Oh, you look normal because I'm white." Once some people came to the restaurant and they only spoke Spanish. Another one of my coworkers said, "I don't speak Mexican." That one really made my blood boil. Not in the restaurant. I was talking to a dude about cars and was telling him about cars being really expensive. In Costa Rica, I grew up in Costa Rica, and he said, "It's probably because it's an island." Well, I don't know what to say.